She's April.
And she's Molly.
And we are...
the Book Besties.
Bottomless mimosas are not the same as pantsless mimosas.
You don't always get what you want, and sometimes that's a good thing.
He has to sparkle, though, or it's not appropriate.
Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion.
Money equals youth.
Oh my gosh, did we finish on time today?
For those that can't see us on YouTube, I'm flipping her the bird.
Did you forget the words?
No, I was literally doing a delay on purpose.
Okay, sure.
My makeup weird?
Are you new here?
Always.
No, your makeup looks fine.
I tried a TikTok hack, and I think it's not for old skin. It's for, like, the young kids that don't have blemishes, and like, I wrote it down, like, on a sticky note.
For the people that don't actually need makeup.
Right, and, like, it's clumping, and I'm done with TikTok. No, I'm not done with TikTok. I'm done with TikTok hacks.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored. Yeah, well, I'm glad you made it. You had a big day today, a busy day.
Oh my gosh. I had a birthday party for a kid in my youngest son's class, and I have never been to a more bougie birthday party ever.
Wait, you told me it was like hamburgers and hot dogs.
So the invitation said that it was like field day, hamburgers and hot dogs. So
okay.
I wore
normal for
jeans
that
and
age
t-shirt. Group. My kids were in shorts and tennis shoes and t-shirts because field day.
Right.
All the women were in dresses. They live on a golf course. I didn't even know my town had a golf course. Like, I live in the country. Like, where the fuck did this golf course come from? Like,
where are they getting that money in that country town?
Right in the middle of farms. Like, here you go. Here's all the farms. Golf course.
So all the bougie people live in this one area.
I guess. They, like, had a slushy truck. Like, they rented a slushy truck.
So their foundation does not clump.
Sure. They looked like they had lash extensions, if that means anything to you.
Dang.
They had adult beverages, including champagne. I was like, where the fuck am I right now? Where am I?
I mean, I serve alcohol at kids' parties, but that's because I grew up redneck, and if the adults aren't drinking, nobody's staying for very long.
They were writing down who brought what gift.
Like a bridal shower?
Yeah. Like, do you thank you notes for a 6-year-old birthday? Because
I've never, like... Now I feel like a shitty person that I haven't.
He was sitting in a throne.
like Prince Albert, like, just chilling.
Not Prince Albert. Why is that the name you went with?
I don't know. I have no idea, honestly. It's the name that came to mind.
Oh, gosh. It was weird. Hey, so I have to tell everybody, we never ask for ratings. We never ask for you. We say at the end, like, follow us, but we don't actually say, like, come and follow, like, come and rate us.
I've done one post requesting ratings.
Yeah, we don't try to buy fans, like,
because it helps us on the algorithm, right?
Right.
Gang, it helps.
It does. But we've been doing this for a year. This is the last episode of season 2. And we had a 5-star rating. We didn't have a lot of people that had rated us, but we had a 5-star rating. And this week, our rating tanked. And I'm going to tell you guys why. So I work at a school, which I told you guys last week. I'm not going to be there much longer. Like, I put in my notice. I had been looking for a job for several months to go back to public libraries. And, well, somehow these tech-savvy kiddos found our explicit content, not recommended for kids podcast. Mm-hmm. And because kids can be dicks, they went and rated us a 1-star.
Several of them,
and tanked our rating. So we don't ever ask for ratings. We don't try to buy fans. But if you listen to this podcast, please go rate us on Apple Music.
If you love us. as much as we love you guys.
Please rate us on Apple Music because, like, Molly and I have been doing this for a full year. This is the last episode for season 2.
We've done this 2 full seasons year. For you guys.
Yeah. And we've had authors on. We had Chezzy on, which was fantastic. We've had other podcasters on. We've had Nurse Katie. In season 3, we have 2 bookstagrammers, a third bookstagrammer who is also an independent author. Chezzy will be back. Nurse Katie will be back. It's possible that another friend of mine is going to be coming on. Like, we're really providing quality content, and I'm really hurt and disappointed.
I'm frustrated
that this is what happened.
Because it's not like you're interrupting their lives; they're just being chaotic to be fucking chaotic.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about our kid, like we talk about our personal kids being dicks sometimes. Like,
yeah,
kids are just hard, but like. I'm hurt by this because, like, I'm a pretty good teacher and I'm an even better librarian. And
you're kind.
I'm really hurt by this because, like, this is not, like...
They're just being dicks.
Like, I'm human. I just don't think that people understand. Like, I don't think kids understand, like, your teachers have personal lives. They are human beings. And they have feelings. And, like, this year I had a student... so I have a coworker who's my work bestie, and we were taking a picture together for like one of like the spirit days or whatever. And she's like, "Wait, you guys are like friends?" And we're like, "Yes." She's like, "I didn't know adults had friends." I was like,
what?
What do you mean you didn't know adults had friends? Like, what happens when you become an adult? All of a sudden, you just don't need people in your life? Like,
I mean, I love the hermit life, but
they really just don't understand that
these
like
fucking kids just keep coming back around.
We're human. So, look, I never ask for ratings. We never ask for fans. But if you've been listening to this podcast, even if it's your first one, please go rate us a 5 so we can get this rating back up. We're never going to be back to a 5-star again because now we have so many 1s and you can never go back to 100%. But if you can help us get a little bit further along, I'm at fault for this happening. Like, they take our rating.
It's not your fault. It's their fault. They're jerk faces. You didn't go through on each of their phones and rate us. Like, I mean, that take a lot.
Yeah.
A long time.
Well, anyway, this is the last week of school. Like, this episode is premiering on Tuesday. Obviously, we come out on Tuesdays. Mm-hmm. We literally have this day of Tuesday and 2 half days, and the year is over. And then I have one more day that I have to do as a teacher. And then I'm done, and I don't plan on coming back. But I am still part of this community, and my kids still go to school in this community. So it's going to be awkward. It's awkward.
It'll fizzle out. They're just going to be little dickheads the rest of their lives.
Well, I hope that they're not always that. But, you know.
I don't know. How about we talk about this?
How about we talk about the book we're talking about? I don't have a copy. So.
I do. This week we are talking about The Guncle.
The Guncle.
By Stephen Rowley.
Stephen Rowley.
Stephen Rowley. Which, he narrated the audiobook.
Yes, he did. I did not get a physical copy of this book. I just listened to it on Hoopla, #not sponsored.
I added it last minute to the season. I saw this at Half Price Books when I was still in Texas. And just the shelf appeal of it, I was like, oh my God, this book looks cute.
Right.
I love, it looked beachy. I thought it was going to be a fun summer read. I did not know it was going to make me cry.
Yeah. And we made the decision that we were going to do Pride books for June. Mm-hmm. This is an excellent book for Pride. The only one that we picked that wasn't actually a romance book. And I actually have to say, I think that's really important because we do read a lot of romances, and partly that's my fault because that's my favorite genre. Romance and dystopian. Like, there's no in between. I want sunshines and rainbows, or I want the world falling apart. But
at least you know your jam.
Yeah, right. But The Guncle is it's not a romantic comedy. It has there's a romance in it. We'll talk more about it, but this book is a family
I have feelings book. About that, but
I do too.
Right.
But this book is a family book, and I just think like it was a great addition. And
it's not a typical family
edition.
Yes. And it's not a typical family dynamic. But how about I give you a synopsis and we'll talk about it.
Molly, I missed you. I do realize we just recorded a few days ago for our other episode, but I missed you.
It's not like we talk every day or anything like that either.
Listen, while you were sick, we may have texted, but like we didn't talk like we usually do.
No, I was dead to the world.
Yeah, Molly had the vid. All right, Molly, give the
synopsis.
Do it.
Patrick O'Hara, a former TV star, has chosen seclusion from the world in Palm Springs for several reasons, but the death of his best friend and sister-in-law, Sarah, changed that. He flies to Connecticut, where he isn't just hit with grief, but is a task he isn't sure he wants. His brother, Greg, Sarah's husband, tells Patrick he is an addict and needs his help. He already has rehab set up. He just needs one favor from Patrick: to take his kids for the summer. Maisie and Grant bring something into Patrick's life he didn't know he needed. In this story, we have pink Christmas trees, a gay throuple, dented Golden Globes, and a lot of laughter and tears.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it.
Yeah. I know his name is Grant, but I can't hear Grant. I hear Grantelope.
Grantelope.
Because that's what he called it. Well,
Grantelope.
Grantelope.
So I'll just go right into it. Boy, this cover is deceiving. I purchased this book thinking it would be a fun, light read.
Yeah.
We are hit with real life and real laughter throughout this book. What did you think? Let's just do an overall opinion to start.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked this book.
Same.
I was surprised. In a lot of ways, it reminded me of the line from Steel Magnolias. Not Steel Magnolias itself, but the line, laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. There's so much depth to Patrick that I don't think he even realized was there.
Right.
And
he was burying himself in the desert, right?
Right. And like, the only part of this book that really, for me, drug on and felt unnecessary was the long letter that he wrote to his partner. Oh, whose name escapes me right now. What's Patrick's? Joe, thank you. The letter that he reads was like a whole chapter, and like it really slowed down the pace of the book. I think you need his feelings about Joe, but I don't think you needed that whole.
But it's very much Patrick's personality to rattle on, right? Yeah. And his therapist did tell him no edits, right? So,
yeah, but did he need to read the whole thing to us in the book? Not really. I don't think so. But I think that he hadn't even realized how much he was still grieving Joe.
Yeah.
And I love that his brother tells him, look, I put them with you for a reason.
Right. Well, and Sarah wanted this too.
Right. You can help them through this grief. Like, you understand grief firsthand. They need you to guide them through it.
Skills. Yeah.
And I really like that, like, initially he takes the fun uncle, path. Like, I'm just going to be the fun uncle. But he buys the book, like, workbooks on grief and tries to, like, help them. Like
he's trying. He's trying. I mean, he still misses a few steps. Like, when he bought the bikes and Maisie was like, where's the helmets? And he's like, why do you need helmets?
Well,
and
he doesn't have kids, so that's not what
and she's like, kids' heads are soft? Like,
right. Like, come on.
Little things like that.
Right. But I mean, that's such an uncle thing to do, right? To buy the really cool toy and forget, you need the safety equipment.
I mean, this has happened in my house.
I know.
Uncle Joe bought the most expensive skateboard he could for Tater Tot. But did he buy her pads?
Nope.
No. The audiobook is narrated by the author, which I was hesitant about.
Yeah, me too.
This doesn't always work, but this time I feel like it does. What do you think?
I do. Yeah, I agree. So usually when an author narrates and it's a biography or a memoir kind of situation, like, I'm like, okay, yeah. I've read audiobooks before that are a person writing a biography on someone else, but the writer of the biography is doing the reading. And that's almost like a firsthand account of like the journalistic exploration they did. And then, of course, we covered Amy Poehler's Yes, Please in the first season, in which it's her memoir and she reads it. And I think you need her voice. I wasn't sure about how I would feel with the author reading this book, but he's so perfect.
Good. I mean,
like, I can't imagine anyone. I know.
Grant. It's so
I can't imagine anyone else doing it.
Well, you forget. You get halfway into the book and you forget it's the author reading it.
I don't even know that. Like I mean, I knew it was him, But like,
but he sounded like an audiobook narrator. He sounded like a voice actor. It was very good. I was pleasantly surprised.
Right.
And as a avid listener to audiobooks, it is my primary source of reading sometimes. I do read physical copies. It just takes me longer.
Right.
As an avid, I am hypercritical of audiobook narrators because it is my source. They are my readers. They are my eyes.
And a bad audiobook narrator will turn me off to a book.
It'll stop you from wanting to read it.
Absolutely.
And so anytime I see read by author, I really do go, it really just gives me a hesitant step. And this is the first time in a long time I wasn't just like, fuck that shit, I'm not reading it. This was awesome. He did such a great job.
Well, I think sometimes the author thinks that they know how they want this to sound, but when you put an actor to it, someone who professionally does this, it brings life to your book in a totally different way.
Yeah.
But I don't think that anyone could have made Grant who Grant was in this book except for him. I laughed. I died every single time Grant said, "What are you even talking about?" I was losing it. I was like, that is 100% this little kid became real to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And they honestly, these children feel based off of, I would love to talk to him about this because I feel like there is some real life experience in this book.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah.
We see a lot of hints, in my opinion, of the real world TV shows.
Yeah.
Emery, I think, is Cole Sprouse from Riverdale.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen Riverdale, but I 100% thought, oh, this is Cole Sprouse.
Well, especially near the end when he talks about the stupid hat, I was like, oh, Riverdale.
Yeah.
And the people upstairs makes me think of Friends, just because of the time frame and the way he describes his character, very Joey-esque. How did you feel about all this? What did you think about him leaning into real life, but not actually being real life when it was coming to these kind of things?
So I didn't get Friends vibes. I mean, I think that, like, if you're thinking
maybe two guys, a girl, in a pizza place?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Hey, there's a deep cut for you. If nobody knows that show. You don't know that show?
I do.
I was like, that's an old one.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds. Nathan Fillion.
But the thing is, if you're talking 90s sitcom, I think your brain automatically goes to Friends. But there were other things that it could have fit into, you know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It was hard for me to, like, picture him in Friends because the way his character talks is more effeminate.
Right.
But it didn't seem like that was the character he was portraying on TV.
Right.
So he was somehow masking that effeminate
he's
voice.
an actor.
Yeah. But I mean, like, his new agent didn't even know he was gay. So, like, there was something happening there where he was being a better actor than, I don't know. But it's definitely 90s sitcom. Yes. Definitely more mature than TGIF. So, like, Friends seems to be, like, the go-to for that. But it would probably be, like, you remember Caroline in the City? Like, that show? Like, any of those 90s sitcoms that were on NBC. Not ABC, but NBC.
NBC specifically.
NBC specifically. But
like everybody else.
But he does talk about the fact that ABC owned his show.
Right.
But the thing is...
And he had that whole rant about Disney and their conglomerate and how they own people, and it was hilarious.
But the thing is that, like, the way he's describing the show, like, the comedies that I remember from the 90s on ABC were TGIF, and this was not a TGIF comedy.
No, this was like a Tuesday evening adult show.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I've got a list of the Kunkel rules. I wrote them all down just because I knew we needed to talk about them. So I'm going to go through them, and then I have a question about it.
Did you write them in the numbers that, like, he says them?
Yep. 1, brunch. 2, cameras lie. Don't trust them. 3, the easy laugh is lazy. Not the laugh you really want, right? 4, money equals youth. Always remember that. Only look at a gay man, what a gay man shows you on his phone. No swiping.
No swiping.
No swiping.
That's applicable to everybody. Don't swipe on my phone.
Facts. Never let your guard down. 7, we wear what we want to wear.
Mm.
8, live life to the fullest because each day is a gift.
Yeah.
That was 8. 9, when faced with unimaginable loss, we need a little Christmas.
I love that.
I did too. Number 10, don't trust labels you don't know. That was a really funny lecture about how, like, you don't buy fashion designers, like, we buy Gucci, right? Because we know Gucci. 11, make the Yuletide gay. This one, number 12, was for his sister. If you can't tone it, tan it. 13, fun drinks make everything more interesting.
True.
This one he called 11th Fifth. Yes. In the book, 11th Fifth. Yes. Special brunch edition. Bottomless mimosas are not the same as pantsless mimosas. He learned that the hard way. 15, let's go baby. Let's go baby. Come on. Wang Chung, let's go. And like, for those that haven't read the book, he's referring to a dance. It's dancing and singing with his best friend who had passed, their mother. It's a beautiful scene. I'll actually put the music video in the links because it's a great song.
Yeah.
Number 16, which he called Sweet 16. I want you to really live. Most people just exist. You need to live. And number 7, and then the last one was number 17. There's 2 tragedies in life. Not getting what you want, and the other is getting it. Mm-hmm. So, I've listed them. Which one is your favorite?
I want you to live. Honestly, I think the best advice you can give anyone is just like, I want you to have a life.
Right.
And live.
My favorite is the first time I fell in love with Patrick. My favorite is we wear what we want. The scene is, he's getting the kids ready for the first swim at the house, and Grant's already ready for the pool. He's out there, and he's like talking, and Patrick loves muumuus. He loves wearing these big shamoozes, and he's like walking around in his flouty dress, and asks Grant, where's Maisie? And he's like, Maisie's not coming. She's like, why? And he's like, it's a secret. It's a secret, Grant says. And he goes, well, you got to tell me the secret. So then he goes and finds out. Come to find out, her dad packed her swimsuit. Mm-hmm. And her mom knew she doesn't like to wear girl clothes. But Dad never really paid attention, so Dad just packed the regular girl swimsuit.
I think Dad did pay attention because later in the story when he says, and Maisie wants to marry a man, and his brother is like, Maisie wants to marry a man. And Patrick's like, don't hold her to it.
It was so funny when they had that conversation, and she's like, being adult should be lonely. And she's like, I'm not going to be lonely. I'm going to have 3 Siberian Huskies. And she's like, maybe a husband. Definitely the Huskies.
Girl, I feel
Same.
that.
But do you think the idea of this helped or hindered the book, adding these little nuggets?
I think it just added some more comic relief. I think we call him Gunkle, but the kids call him Gup. Gay Uncle Patrick. And I just feel like, so I had a gay Uncle Fred. And Guff, he 100% had random rules for us that were like, we're having fun. And he definitely was the uncle that was like, take us out and sugar us up and then send us home with tons of presents and tons of sugar.
I feel like it also gives you context to getting to know Patrick.
Yeah.
Too, at the same time.
I think that on the surface, they're very silly. And they're meant to be comedy, but there's such a depth there. They start with something as simple as you need to eat.
Right.
And so we're going to eat, but I eat at weird times because I'm a little different. And so we have brunch. And they end with, you don't always get what you want. And sometimes that's a good thing. And that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes
and I want you to live a life, you know? So,
right, because honestly, that came from experience for him. Yeah. He was literally hiding.
He was. When Joe died, he and his show ended, he kind of just ran away. He couldn't deal.
We all deal with grief differently.
We do. And we've talked about grief before on the show, on this pod. And I think that Patrick grieved better in a healthier way. I don't know better is the right word, because there's no wrong way to grieve, but he grieved in a more healthy and complete way with the kids. Like the three of them grieved together.
It was something he definitely needed.
And the scene, and I'm sorry I'm jumping ahead because I know that this is in your notes, but the scene with the birthday cake, where it was like, okay, we're going to make a wish for her because this is her birthday and she's not here to celebrate it with us. But Sarah was my best friend. She was your mom. We're going to make wishes for her.
Yes.
And to me, that was really beautiful. That was, that was giving
written.
Yes. It was giving access to their grief. It was allowing them to feel things that they were afraid to feel.
Hitting it in their face. He wasn't just like, tell me how you're feeling.
Right.
No, let's feel these in a different way. And then
in contrast, sorry, go ahead.
And it's the same thing with the stargazing, right?
Yeah.
And they're just sitting there and yes, he was keeping the kids up late. And yes, that he wasn't keeping it in
It's summer. Who cares?
But he was also letting them feel their feelings as they were coming. And he was embracing them as they were and how they were. He was not expecting anything from them. And I think that's why Patrick was his choice.
Right.
Right? His brother's choice.
In contrast, Clara, who's their aunt.
Yeah, his sister, his older sister.
His oldest. Patrick's the youngest.
Right.
And Clara's the oldest. What Clara wanted was them to grieve the way that she felt was appropriate for them.
Right. She wanted
them
to have structure.
And
she probably would have found a therapist, forcing them to do the thing.
I mean, I'm not saying they didn't need a therapist, but
but the way Patrick handled it, I felt was more give them the summer to breathe. Then when school starts and we get back to regular life, get them in therapy, help them transition back into their real life. They needed that break, that vacation.
I think Patrick made room for their grief, whereas Clara would have made them dive into it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's a healthy way to help kids grieve.
He let it breathe.
Right. He made them feel like whatever they were feeling was okay and normal. And, and he did it through comedy. There was a toilet that, had a bidet attached to it.
Oh my goodness.
And,
that was their first night there.
Yeah. And they sprayed each other with the toilet water and how funny that was.
And now that's comedy, kids.
And he let them be kids. And I think sometimes when kids lose somebody, I think that we are quick to make them adult around it, but they can't. They have
we ignore it altogether. Right?
We're just not going to talk about the fact that their mom is dead because, we don't want to upset them. Dude, they know their mom is dead. They were there. They saw her dying of cancer.
This book, Matt and I were having a conversation about this. When I was in elementary school in 3rd or 4th grade, a very dear friend of mine, her mother had passed from breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And this instantly made me think of that. And when they had taken a month and a half off of school, her and her siblings. And when they came back, the teacher had kind of forewarned us all, look, this is why she's not here, X, Y, and Z. And our classmates treated her differently. And I wasn't as socially inept as my classmates because of the ADHD and just who I was. And I just was back in her face and I'm oh my God, I missed you. Da, 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 da. Just a Molly thing, right? I was just, and I don't know if looking back, I think that's me being the normal one was kind of what she needed because everybody else was just treating her like this ghost. Right. And looking back, she definitely was, there was a part of her missing and you could see it.
Right.
But to treat her like this outcast instead of, it was just, I don't know. I don't know what my point was.
I don't either, Molly.
Let's go to the next question. Oh my God.
Oh man.
And we're 30 minutes in. We're only on question 5. It's fine.
Hey, we're having a good discussion though.
We are. We meet a lot of interesting people in this book. A lot. family, friends. I mean, he has staff and people that work for him, and then the gay throuple that lives next door. Jed. Who is your favorite person?
Jed.
Who's your favorite character? Jed. I love it. Was a priest?
Specifically John. He wasn't a priest, he was a minister. And also a therapist, or a massage therapist.
And now he's a nurse, right?
I thought he was like nothing now. I thought he was like he was.
One of them's a nurse.
I don't know.
And then he was like, they were like, we find out the one has a kid, and like, it just,
Eduardo
their lives are so insane. Their lives are so insane.
I love when Jed has the conversation with Patrick about kids and how they would like to have kids, and Patrick's like, why can't you have kids? And John's like, we're not exactly living a conventional life here, but like somebody would just like give us a kid. And like Patrick is so desensitized to all of it that he's like, what do you mean? And then he's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right.
Right, you're a throuple and gay. That makes sense.
They are. I love that they have an acronym for the relationship, that they are Jed.
Right.
I thought they were great neighbors for Patrick. Like, I'm really glad they didn't bring in like, do you want to join us in the bedroom kind of thing. Like, I was kind of worried about that, but like, they're in a committed throuple relationship. Right.
And they love each other equally.
They do. And they go to Burning Man every year, which is just weird.
My favorite thing was like, and his worry was like, Patrick was thinking about when he grew up with his siblings and how two always outvoted one. He was like, how does this work? Like, are you guys just outvoting each other all the time?
Well, and it turns out that John just stayed home and if he didn't want to go to the movie, he just didn't go.
I mean, like, it works.
It works.
Go ahead.
Never mind.
No, go ahead, say it.
No.
Okay, no.
Okay. I have questions that are not going to be able to be answered on this pod, so...
Stephen Rowley can come on and we'll do a revisit. How about that?
Or we can read one of his other 2 books. He has 2 other books.
That's true. So. That's true. We learned about the tragedy of Patrick's partner, Joe, and how his life unfolds for him after. Do you think this makes him uniquely qualified to help the kids? I guess we already answered this question.
We kind of did, and I do.
Yeah. There is true growth for Patrick and the kids throughout this book. Mm-hmm. Do you think this arrangement was made more for Patrick or the kids?
Well, I do not think... Okay, here's my issue with this book.
Oh, boy. Get your bell out, ladies and gentlemen.
We wouldn't have a story at all if the plot wasn't, like...
sad and depressing, yeah.
What's his brother's name again?
Greg.
We wouldn't have a plot at all if Greg weren't a drug addict who needed to go to rehab, right? But it just feels so unlikely that would be a story. Like, I feel like that's just a crazy story to me.
It happens a lot, actually. Partners don't know how to handle their family partner. Their other half is dying, so they use drugs. That's not why he became an addict, though.
He started using drugs before that.
Right. But in the end, he was using her meds.
Nobody knew, though. Like, the fact that nobody knew, like, that feels unlikely. Maybe Patrick would know since he lives in LA.
I have a lot of family that I grew up with that were functioning alcoholics, and everybody just acted like it wasn't a big deal.
Okay, well, I don't know. I just thought it was that was a little far stretched. But I do think that them living together. Oh my gosh, I need to stop yawning. Good gracious. I think that the summer together was for both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it creates the story, obviously. I know Greg didn't want to be too far from his kids, but then he didn't want to see them either. So, like, that didn't make sense to me.
He just wanted to know they were in proximity.
I don't even think it was that. I really think he thought to himself, Clara will make my kids make
it worse.
Rigid and on a schedule, and they don't need to be on a schedule right now. Mm-hmm. They need some fun.
Right. And he knew Patrick would be fun.
And more importantly, Sarah knew that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was her wish.
Yeah. This author, in my opinion, is the first author in a while we've read that has actually gotten the voice of children correct.
Yes.
They were age appropriate. It didn't feel forced. It sounded like things children their age would say. There is so many funny and great scenes with these kids. Do you have a favorite?
I mean, I really liked the Christmas party that wasn't a Christmas party because it was July. I thought that was really cool. I like that. I like the toilet scene with the splashing of water. That was hilarious to me. Like a more intimate and like sweet idea. I love that they actually climbed into his room every night. Like they needed the safety of an adult. Yeah. And I love that they did that. Yeah, I guess those would be my favorites. I think his reaction to Maisie when he finds out that she prefers to wear shorts and a shirt, like
the swimsuit scene. Yeah,
I'm not totally comfortable in a swimsuit either. I actually wear a skirt as my bottoms. Like I have a skirt, and like that's I don't like it either. Right. So like the fact that I don't think it necessarily meant that she was trans or that she, whatever, or grew up to be a lesbian. Like, I think the girl just wanted to be comfortable, and that's what she wanted to wear. And I think the way that he approached that was like,
wear what you fucking want, man.
Yeah. Like, I'm wearing dresses. Go ahead. You want to wear pants? Sure.
The only scene we haven't talked about that was my favorite was after the earthquake and the kids get home and they're wearing their bike helmets everywhere. And he's like, why are you guys doing this? And Maisie's like, aftershock. And he's like, yo, like that's we're done. Like the earthquakes are done, I promise.
No. Speaking of the earthquake, he had told them at the beginning of the book that if an emergency happened, he was grabbing his Golden Globe before them.
Yes.
And when the emergency actually happens, a decoration falls off of the wall and hits Grant on the head.
Yes.
And so Grant's hurt, and Maisie's kind of like in shell shock. Right.
Yeah.
And Maisie says, Uncle Patrick, your Golden Globe. And he's like, fuck the Golden Globe. And like that to me, that was like that growth that he had where he's just like, you know what? That doesn't matter to me anymore.
What was funny is, so he gets a new agent, right? I don't really have a note about this, but
her name is something with a
mountain. It's a mountain range, Everest something. Anyways, it doesn't fucking matter.
Her.
It's so funny. And he calls her, and she calls them, and they get a new Golden Globe to the house. And he goes, and when she first calls, he's like, I don't want to send the other one back. I want to use them as bookends. Like.
But then at the end of the book, he thinks it would have been nice if he would have sent it with Grant.
Yeah.
Home with him.
Yeah.
Because he accidentally gives it to Grant as the Tooth Fairy. Because he doesn't know what to give Grant, and so he gets drunk and sticks his Golden Globe under Grant's pillow.
The Golden Globe! It's so funny.
And then he's like, what about $50? And Maisie's like, $50? I got like 50 cents. And Grant's like, I'll take the $50.
I'm going to have to get somebody to bring me cash, though, because I don't drive. So, like...
Right. But he has a Tesla.
Because somebody gave it to him.
Right. We also find out that the reason he doesn't drive is because the way that Joe died was a car accident. Yeah. And do you have in your notes for us to talk about Joe's death?
No,
I would like to talk about it.
Yeah, I'd like to too.
Sorry.
Let's talk about it now.
Okay.
And then we'll jump back in.
Last week I may have told this story, or 2 weeks ago I may have told this story to Katie, but now I can't remember. So I'm just going to retell it. But So my Uncle Fred, his partner, Mike, who I just always called Uncle Mike, they were together for 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. They both have AIDS, or had, my uncle's deceased now, but Mike is still a man living with AIDS. Mm-hmm. They actually were both parts of the early trials of drug trials and things. And so a lot of the treatments that are being used now, they helped develop them. Like I think of that, nice. Like my uncle helped save lives. Right. So when my uncle was dying, because you don't actually die from AIDS, you die from the effects of
complications.
AIDS,
yeah.
Right? So he, had brain lesions from a parasite that he picked up from spring water. When he was dying, the law in Ohio, where I was growing up, was family only. And family only allowed in his room. And had we not been explicit in saying, this is family. Yeah. He is family. My Uncle Mike his partner of 20 years would not have been welcomed in the room.
Which is so
I've been asked before, like, why I'm an ally and why I believe in same-sex marriage, and that is absolutely why. I'm an ally because I watched a man losing the love of his life for 20 years, and we could have said, get out.
And you didn't.
That is absolutely horrific to me. So that actually happens in this book. So it was like very like poignant for me. Like I related hard to that. So when Joe is dying, Patrick is basically kicked out of the room. Joe's family takes over. Joe's family is the next of kin, even though Patrick
act like Joe's life before, like, never happened.
Patrick didn't exist. And in the letter that I did think was too long, Patrick talks about the fact that he thought, well, they might have Joe, but I have all of Joe's stuff, so they'll at least need to come to me to get him a suit. And the fucking bastards went and bought him something new rather than asking Patrick for something that he owned. He wasn't even invited to the funeral.
And it was like in Patrick's anger about how they bought him a suit at Macy's.
Right.
At Macy's!
Macy's. It was probably off the rack. What the fuck? But like that to me, I love.
It's heartbreaking.
He talked about in that. I don't know if it was in that letter or if it was when he was talking to Emery.
In the letter.
He talks about how many men they lost to AIDS.
He was talking about how it felt like it was the AIDS pandemic again.
Yeah, I think when he was talking to Emery, I think Emery's actually the one that says we've lost so many people to AIDS and now we have to fight for, whatever. And like that's why I'm an ally. So that's it right there, because things like that should never happen. No. They should never happen.
I mean, to this day, even though we have extensive testing when it comes to AIDS, HIV, the whole gamut, men that are sexually active with men still can't donate blood.
They still cannot donate blood. But
do you know who is the best at rallying when it comes to in life? Gay men. If you like
100%. And Grey's Anatomy
just started. Grey's Anatomy, yeah, they did. But there's actual petition out there for the CDC to stop this.
It doesn't make sense because they screen all blood and they can screen for HIV now.
I know. And the law is ridiculous. I will put the petition in the notes. It's homophobic. And I will put the petition in the notes because everyone should sign it.
Patrick talks about how they won't take our blood, but they'll take our organs because Joe's organs are donated.
Right.
He was brain dead, right? So he was brain dead.
They probably lied on the form, he said.
Yeah, that his family probably lied on the form.
Uh-huh.
It's just, this should not happen. It should not happen.
It's awful.
So, for me, that was the part of the book that I did get a little choked up. Nothing made me cry in this book. I laughed a lot in this book.
I teared up at the cake scene. The cake scene where they were making a wish for his mom. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, it was cute, and I did like that scene, but it also felt a little cliche. But
do you think Emery's storyline was necessary?
No.
That is my only bell in this whole episode. No. This whole book is, I get it. Having a love interest is important. It's showing that he's growing and getting out of his shell. But like,
no, I don't think
need it.
And I don't.
And it's weird. I really thought they were setting it. I really thought they were setting us up. He was setting us up for Emery to like go to the paparazzi and like.
I thought that was going to happen too. Yeah, I did too.
I really did.
And I'm glad that he didn't. I'm glad that wasn't the setup. But I also feel like the relationship with Emery was just like not age appropriate. And it's not because they're two men. It wouldn't matter if one was a man and one was a woman. Like that.
Or two women.
I was uncomfortable with that.
I called very early in this book that the Gumbel's rule would be in a TV turned into a TV show.
Sorry, Molly. I have to interrupt for a second.
Sorry.
I have to interrupt for a second. I'm okay with an age gap if it's like a vampire and he's like 109 years old. But like,
he has sparkle though, or it's not appropriate.
Yeah, he's got a glitter. But when you're in your 40s and you're dating someone in your 20s, I'm not okay with that. But you know, if you're 109 and a vampire, it's fine. Sorry. Go ahead and ask your question. And just for posterity, because I don't think we've said it this season, vampires Do not have
Don't
spam.
have seen. Just to reiterate. And hashtag not sponsored by Audible. Thank you. I just want to hit all our bullet points.
We're in the last episode of season 2. We got to hit them all.
I'll hit them all.
You know what we haven't said yet? You know what? Fuck you. There you go. Now we've said them all.
You know what? Fuck you. I was in the middle of something.
You're right. You're right. Fuck me then. Go ahead.
I called early that these Gunkle rules would be turned into a book or a TV show.
Yeah.
Do you think this book was predictable in that sense? Was there any cliches?
You know what's funny? I think that I hadn't even thought of that being a possibility until you said it. Mm-hmm. Because what I actually thought the ending would be was that he would actually move home and stay with the.
Oh no, I never thought he would move home. I think I knew he was like, as soon as these kids started interacting with him and he agreed to like film them, I was like, yeah, he's gonna get back into TV. He misses it. Especially when he was like making the rules about like the funny, like the jokes. As soon as he was like, doesn't what, babe?
When the show ends, he doesn't really have a TV show yet.
No.
He's doing the play,
but
and he's in New York.
They had already filmed the pilot, right? Like, he had signed the contract, and they were talking about how they...
signed the contract, and it would take... They gave him a year.
Mm-hmm.
He went to New York City for a year, and he's doing the play.
Yes. And that's how you do it. That's how the book ends, by the way. And that's how you do it.
Which is, for those of you who haven't read it, that's his catchphrase from the people upstairs.
Yes. So, you sent me a couple of links, and we'll put it in the notes.
Yes.
This has already been picked up.
Yes.
Do you think this will actually hit our screens? Do you think we're going to get a show? Do you think it's just going to sit on a shelf somewhere?
So, I am not sure. I do know that the author is the screenwriter. And I guess he's been the screenwriter for one of his other books. Is also a movie as well. And so, we do know that he'll be hustling that. Because not only have they bought the rights, but he's also writing it. So, there's a little bit more of a hustle than, like, say, where John Green is, like...
Right.
Sold the rights, but, like, does it ever come to fruition?
Sorry, go ahead.
But I do think I think that, like, there's a possibility with so many streaming services that this could get picked up and be, like, a mini series or be a movie. I would like to see it be a mini series.
I honestly, what I was picturing is, it's a show about a show, right? Like, it's Gunkle in real life interacting with the kids and like their everyday life, but he also has the show where he's the Gunkle on the show. That's how I'm seeing it envisioned in the future. But that doesn't mean anything.
I see it as a mini series, and each episode is titled a different Gunkle rule.
That would be great. I couldn't help but picturing Billy Einrich. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
It's a mix of him and Nathan Lane. That is the two men that come to mind when it comes to Patrick. Like,
I would get on board with Billy. I never know how to say his last name. How do you say it?
Einrich.
Okay, I would get on board with that. But I wonder if I would get
Billy on the street.
I wonder if I would get on board with that because he's like so out. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
Could you have like a Neil Patrick Harris do this? I don't know,
but I don't see like. I envision a more
flamboyant,
a bigger man, right? A bigger man, like Billy Einrich's
flamboyant.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like I could 100% picture the character that Billy plays in Parks and Rec being Patrick.
Okay.
Where he's
Bailey's got things to say, by the way.
I know that's the best name for you. Never change it. And she's like, standing on it. Like that. That is Patrick right there. Like,
my favorite line comes at the end of this book. He had lived a life and survived it. Mm-hmm. Do you have any lines that you loved in this book?
I mean, it's hard for me to answer this question when it's an audiobook and I didn't actually physically tab or anything. And Hoopla, I love Hoopla. It's a great app. It's free from your local library. So go support local libraries. We love local libraries here, Book Besties. But Hoopla doesn't have the same options that Audible has for like tagging.
# not sponsored.
Hashtag not sponsored. We don't have the options to like tag in Hoopla. So I can't really tell you a favorite line. I can't really tell you a favorite line.
And what was the last note I have is April's good rating. What was it?
I gave it a 4, a solid 4. I might be able to be persuaded into a 4.5, but I think 4 is where it belongs. Especially coming off of just having read Boyfriend Material, which was a 5 for me.
Oh, I like this more than Boyfriend Material.
I know you do, but I didn't. I liked it a lot, but I didn't like it as well. But again, there were things in this that I just felt were unnecessary, like Emery and the very long letter. I feel like we could have, and there were weird, we didn't talk about this, but there were weird parts that like flash back to his time in college with Sarah to give us more of the foundation of their relationship, but it took me out of the story. I didn't like that.
He had, you know, okay, the one thing, I'll give it a ring. One thing that irritated me in that one of the flashbacks, and they're on this trip with the Grand Canyon, and he gets mad at her for being with his brother. And he's like, you couldn't have my genetics, so you just went to the next thing? Like, bro.
He called her a brother fucker.
Yes. Called her a brother fucker. Oh, I can't with this book.
I really enjoyed the book. I still think for season 2, for me, my top 2 books that were new to me, because we did do The Fault in Our Stars and we did The Hunger Games this season. And those are 2, like The Hunger Games is my all-time favorite series and The Fault in Our Stars is my favorite author. So like, of course, going to be up there. But my 2 favorites that we did this season were The Love Hypothesis and Boyfriend Material. I think The Guncle is really good. I really enjoyed it, but it doesn't make the top for me. It could be top 5, but it's not.
Love Hypothesis, Kiss Quotient, and Guncle for me.
So I had already read Kiss Quotient, and I do like Kiss Quotient, but I can't. That one's not new to me. I really hated all of the fucking historical fiction that you threw at me this season. And
for those that can't see us on YouTube, I'm flipping her the bird.
You know what? Fuck you too. We also read Ready Player One, which is a favorite of mine, and I know that didn't really hit the mark for you. I really didn't like The Wedding Date, and I know that's one of your favorites.
My favorites. Yeah, but it wasn't a new read for me.
It wasn't, but for me, it was a new read, and I just found it to be so riddled with cliches and poorly written. But then we read The Love Hypothesis, and I was like, this is fake dating too, and I'm here for it. Like, that book is just, chef's kiss. What else did we read this? Jurassic Park. I enjoyed Jurassic Park, but
that was new to you.
It was new to me. I enjoyed it, but I still only rated it 3 stars. It's not one that I would ever read again, but I'm thankful I read it because it was kind of cool.
Eleanor Park was new to me. I really liked that.
That's a great book. It was the wrong time to read it. It should not have been under our romance. That's my fault for that. I forgot how dark that book was. But Good Omens I didn't like. I know that's a favorite of yours.
I love Good Omens.
I absolutely loved having Chezzy come on.
Same.
And hey, this episode is coming out the week before her new book.
Hey, go pre-order it.
Go pre-order it. Hey, she shows, if you don't follow her on social media, go follow it. Go follow her. Her name is like at Chezzy Zappia, I think. But she showed.
I'll link her socials.
Yeah, unboxing, and she unboxed the hardbacks of the books, and the covers are shiny and like it's just gorgeous.
And she's doing, if you pre-order before July something, she's doing out book plates and stickers and all that jazz.
That might have already closed. I think that might have already closed because I know she was sending some of them already. That was on social media. I'm not totally sure. But I loved having her on. Hands down, like that was like a wild experience for me. Like I'm like sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, like a quote from your book is hanging on the wall in my office." I don't know what to do with myself. We also had my husband on, which was really fun. And embarrassing.
What else is new? No.
Yeah, that's true. We had a lot going on this season in our personal lives. So like this season feels like it was so much longer than our first one.
It was so chaotic.
It was hard. But I think we did a good job. We've grown our audience.
We're so glad you guys are here.
People are DMing us on social media, and we're getting cool comments from people. We have like a shout out to the middle school librarian that we follow on social media. I do not know her name, but she has a great like social media for her library. And so I've like DM'd her a couple of times, and like she's listening to the pod, and I'm just like, I'm a fan of hers. Like, I want to be like her. Like, she's
a fan of yours now, and it's
she like likes our posts, and we've had authors comment on our stuff. Like,
it's
what
great.
Is this life?
We're getting there, man. We're getting there.
Yeah.
So next season, our next few books.
Not next week. Next season.
Next season.
We are taking 2 weeks off. So we will not have an episode next week, which is the last week in June. Mm-hmm. And we will not have an episode. So we won't have an episode June 28th or July 5th. But for July, we are going to read some more beach reads, like poolside books. So the first one will be Beach Read by Emily Henry. I'm a few chapters into that, and I've already laughed out loud because Foot Job is in there, and I fucking lost it. The second one is a Molly pick called Matchmaker's List by Sonia Lally. Is that how you say her name, Molly?
I think it's Lally.
And she commented on our social media, and so Sonia, if you want to come and chat with us, we'd love to
about this book specifically.
Or any book, really. Then we're also going to wrap out July with It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. And this is the first book in, I think there are only 2 books in the series right now. And they're sort of like the romance style series books that don't necessarily need to be read in order. They're like companion novels kind of thing. So that's what we're going to wrap out July with. And then in August, we'll come back and do like our normal stuff.
I guess.
I don't know. Do we just become like a romance reads?
No, because we love books other than romance books. So
you love books other than romance books.
Bullshit. You love other books too.
I do. But again, dystopian or romance, like there's no in the middle. Either everything is sunshine and rainbows or the world is burning down. No in the middle.
All right, gang. We're going to get out of your hair. We're hitting the hour mark.
Oh my gosh, did we finish on time today?
I know. It's fine. We finally finished on time.
Way to go us.
Slow clap. Yay.
All right, we'll see you in a couple weeks, guys.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on Book Besties. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The views discussed here are those of Molly and April and not those of anyone else. Today's book was The Guncle by Stephen Rowley. Your Book Besties are Molly Banks and April Watkins. Editing by Thomas Watkins, and music is Sleep Sweetly by Brigida. Don't forget to follow the Book Besties on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. If you'd like to contact the Book Besties, please email us at bookbestiespod@gmail.com.